Cam Hill on the Cam Hill Show. I'm here with my friend. I'm telling you, the infamous. We call him Cowboy Troy Marsaw. How you doing, my friend?
How you doing, Dr. Cam?
Doing good, doing good. Wanted to sit here and talk to you. You've been doing a lot of things, 30 years in healthcare, and a lot of people don't know how you started. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I started back in '92. I was working for the airlines as a flight attendant. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
From 85 to '92, and I was paying my way through school as a flight attendant. I would fly on the weekends because I was very junior.
Right.
I would go to school during the week. And so once I finished my degree plan, I left from Texas Southern and went over to work for a law firm. And in working for that law firm, while I was there, a guy came in and he said he wanted to sell one of his medical clinics. And I didn't have the money. So I just said, that's nice. I said, but I don't understand why you're selling. You're making so much money. Why would you sell it? And he said, well, I'm ready to go on the road with George Foreman. And I don't really know what's going to do. I said, why much you want for it? He says, $50,000. I said, man, if I had $50,000, I would buy this thing. So the head lawyer at that time said to me, Troy, buy it. I said, I don't have the money to buy it. He said, yeah, you do buy it. He says, Troy will buy it. So I thought it was a joke. So the guy said, well, write me a check and Troy he can have it. So sure enough, the lawyer wrote him a check for $50,000. And that's how I got started. I actually got that clinic.
Wow.
We paid the lawyer that put up $50,000. And within 2 years, I had set up 12 more of that clinic. So
that clinic. And you learned within that period of time.
I did. I really did.
I think a lot of people don't take that jump, right?
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah. I was always an entrepreneur at heart, but for someone to say, I got you, go.
Right.
And it was just that push out the door, and it just worked for me.
Wow. Wow. And looking at what you're doing right now, mental health. Let's talk a little bit about mental health because many of us in our race and other places don't talk about it. It's always pushed under the rug. It's never addressed up front. You've done a lot of work in that industry. You've really done a lot of things. Let's talk about what you're doing right now, what the name of your clinics are, and just going forward.
Yeah, on-site counseling is the name of the main clinic, but I have these clinics set up in different states.
Right.
Okay? And so what happens, I call it more institutional counseling because I only deal with large organizations, sort of like, say, school districts, or if it's not a school district, it could be a company. And so it's not, when we're set up, it's not one of those deals where you walk in off a street or you're referred by someone for a counseling session. This is more of an organized effort to help remedy the situations in school districts for children that have behavioral health issues. And so I started that I started that maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. I went to HISD and I proposed a plan. I said, hey, listen, why don't you guys allow me to come in and provide counseling to the children? And they were like, well, we don't have the money for that. I said, well, guess what? Many of those children already have some kind of insurance. So if they have insurance, they have parents, if they say they need the help, and you guys just refer them to me. All you have to do is give me an office inside of the school, and I'll get busy providing those services. So sure enough, HISD was my big first account, and that just propelled me to doing it all over.
I'm glad you said that. I remember in reading some things about you. One 14-year-old young lady, long time ago, you had come from a conference, and then you had started thinking about children because you were doing adults for a long period of time.
Yeah. And
this 14-year-old young lady had got pregnant by her grandfather, but you didn't understand how that was so. Let's talk about that one.
You know, that really bothers me even to this day. You know, I was raised in a good, healthy family, good, healthy environment.
Mm-hmm.
And when the young lady told me that her grandfather was the father of the baby,
Yes.
that disturbed me.
Mm-hmm.
It really disturbed me because I had never heard of anything of that matter. Because remember, I was raised in that type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, she says, but I don't want you to tell CPS
Right.
because they're going to remove me from the house. And if they remove me from the house, then that wouldn't be good because they love me, he loves me. And they don't love me, they won't love me in a group home. And so my grandmother knows he comes and get in bed with me every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm okay with that.
And I say that because you have been faced with so many young children that you've now saved. You've helped them. Mentally, you've helped them. Emotionally, you've helped them through your organization. And I wanted to put a light on that, of what young people are going through right this moment while we're sitting here talking. They're going through that.
I got a call from a friend of mine down in Beaumont and said that she said that the YMCA down there was up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
She said, but the only catch is there's a tenant in the building and she has a 20-year contract and she has to pay for 28,000 square feet, $1,000 a month. And I said, so how could that be? And she says, that's just something that they set up through the city government. And in order for you to get that building, you may have some problems because she has a 20-year lease. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what about the other people in Beaumont? No one that's like gone forward to try and purchase that building? They say everyone's afraid. I said, afraid of what? Because they're not going to be able to get her out because it's a long-term contract. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to buy it anyway. I'm going to take the chance. Mm-hmm. And so I purchased that building. And the interesting thing about the Beaumont purchase was that when I went in to the building, after purchasing it, I came in, I said, hey, I'm the new owner of the building. And it just goes to show you though how people are, even today. This white lady, and she said to me, get out of my building. You don't have a right to come in here. Don't come in my building. Mm-hmm. And I showed her the closing documents. I said, I purchased the building. She says, you didn't purchase anything. Get out and I'm going to call the police. And so I thought, wow, is she serious?
Right.
She called the police. Police come. And they say to me, she wants you out of the building. I said, well, that's a problem. And he said, why is that? I said, because I own the building. So here's what I want to do. I want to come in a spirit of peace and resolution. But what I want to do is, I want to ask you to have everyone leave this building immediately. Mm-hmm. He says, are you sure? I said, the same way that she called you to have me removed, because I didn't come to remove her. Mm-hmm. I came in peace. So here's what I want to do. I want everybody out of the building immediately. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't believe it. But they put all of them out of the building. And from that day, I was the bad guy because they flipped it. Like, oh, right. Here's the bad guy, and look what he's doing. He coming to Beaumont and he's showing his weight. Right. No. I don't like, growing up in Mississippi, I saw so much racism. Yes. And I hate racism. I hate people being mean for no godly reason, just to be mean. Mm-hmm. And that makes me fight. Mm-hmm. I fight when I see that. And so, you know what? A lot of times I feel like maybe I shouldn't get involved. Right. You know, I should just be quiet. But just the way I was raised, you know, to be fearful, believe it or not, of white people. And I said, well, you know what? I don't think that's the way I want to live. If anybody does you wrong, you have to fight. You know, it's one thing for someone to slap you and you say, okay, well, I turn the other cheek. It's hard for me to do that. When I see that you have no good intentions of, it's one thing if you slap me and say, hey, get right. But the slap mean all ill intent. You mean no good with it. So that's what I just can't turn the other cheek that way.
I'm glad you said that. We'll have some footage on that going into what you're going through now with Beaumont.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this deal here, this is the latest as of yesterday. I had District 6, which is a drainage district in Beaumont, to call me on the phone and say, hey, listen, we're about to build a detention basin on all 5 acres behind the YMCA. And I said, well, what would be the purpose of that? He says, well, we're going to build a detention basin, and we're going to have a track, and we have an area where the cars can park. And I said, who is that for? How does that benefit anyone when we have a baseball field out back and the kids can't use a baseball field because now it turns into a detention basin? This is the only place that these black kids can go and play a sport. Now think about it. The reason I had to challenge that is because guess what? There's on that side of town, there's nothing but crime and murder. I mean, just burglaries. So let's try and find a way to keep the kids out of trouble if possible. We can't keep all of them. Yeah, we can't keep all of them, but guess what? That's a start. So you say to me, well, we compromise on this because we want a place here. And then the question becomes, you come from real estate, the question is, what's the need for it? So you're talking about the YMCA that has been there for 52 years, and the neighboring homes that have been around there, no one has flooded. So my question is, why would you come now and want to build this detention basin? There's something behind it that could be sinister. I don't know the answer yet, but we will get to the bottom of it, because you don't just pop out and say we're going to build a detention basin. And you know what I know, no one does anything for free.
Right.
There's something behind it.
Trying to retain the land.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. Try to retain that. I'm glad you spoke about that, because you've also talked about, for a long period of time, health plans, health care. You're very deep into that for a long period of time, maybe still so. Texas Children's was a big one. And the reason I say that is because you have been one of the strongest people to fight for a long period of time. And people didn't even understand what Texas Children's health plan really was. And you've spoken about it for a long time. Let's talk about that part and what that really means.
So, we had a big fight a couple of years back. And the fight was about children not being able to receive behavioral treatments or counseling. And so my degree, undergrad degree, is in insurance. And so I went to Texas Children in a spirit of resolution, and I said to them, hey, listen, these kids are in need of services. You're denying the services based upon what? And the first thing they said to me was, well, they don't need the services unless they get a referral. Well, that's not true. That's misleading. You don't need a referral if you're already in the plan. That's a separate benefit that you're entitled to.
Right.
So they didn't want to give that to the kids, right? And so I had a problem with that. And then they had a conversation in-house about me. And in that conversation, they were talking about how I was winning with the government, because I was filing complaints about what they were doing. And so they asked me not to, they wanted me out of their health plan. And so they terminated my contract because I was hard to work with. Those were words they used. I'm hard to work with because I fought for children. And so they terminated me, and so that's when the fight began, once they terminated me. But I want you to understand something, for those that are out there, they need to know this. So, in my opinion, Texas Children Hospital owns the health plan, okay? So there's a conflict of interest here. So if the hospital is providing care, the health plan is sort of like if you had Blue Cross Blue Shield, right, or Aetna. They have no interest other than making sure that their beneficiaries are receiving services. Well, what if you have an organization that says, well, you know what, we own the hospital, we got all these doctors and clinicians and everything that we need. Instead of those monies going elsewhere, they need to come to us. So that's what I was saying. That is a conflict of interest because you're not allowing those kids to be seen because what you're saying is, no, they can't be seen by any other provider unless we can't see them. But if I have to wait for 6 or 7 months, it's because you're trying, in my opinion, trying to hoard the monies. And isn't that a disservice to the children? Isn't that a disservice to the community? That's what I fought for.
Right. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. We're going on over HTX Construction.
Yes.
And then we've also got Marsaw Media.
Yes.
And we're going to Ghana.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
You know, I think that my Ghana trip was 3 years ago. I went to visit a friend of mine. He said, Troy, man, you've been fighting and you just come over and take some time off, relax. And I flew over there in October, and it was something I had never seen in my life. You know, I've never seen black people. It doesn't matter if they're African American or what people say African, but they're all black people. I would say about 95 to 98% were black, black skin. And I didn't see anybody fighting anyone. I didn't see anybody curse anyone. I've never, since I've been there 3 years, I can honestly say I don't even know about 3 murders. And then we're talking about 1 million to 2 million people just in a crowd, maybe more. And I said to myself, this can't be real. I mean, I never heard of the police shooting someone down. For what reason? Really over there, you're not even supposed to have a gun, right? So I started thinking about here while I was there.
Right.
And I thought about how young black men, boys, girls were fighting for territory in the gangs. And I thought to myself, they don't own any of that land. They don't own any of those corners. But they're killing each other for what? And then I get to Ghana, and you have people just enjoying every corner, every block, all of the land. They're not trying to kill each other over something that they don't possess or they don't own. It was unreal to me. And so I said, you know what? I have to buy a home here. This is where I want to be.
Right. And
so I landed there. And after landing there, I said, you know what? I need something to do. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I just cannot do something.
Right.
And so I went to visit a pastor over there, big church, Bishop Duncan Williams. He has about 12 to 14,000 members, maybe more. I went to his home for Christmas. And he says, Troy, you know, my wife and I, we want to talk to you about something, and it's dealing with mental health care. Oh, no, Bishop. He says, we have a place up in the mountains, and we want you to come up and help us develop it. I said, Bishop, I'm running. I'm on a run right now. He says, what do you mean? I said, I'm running from mental health care right now. I said, you just don't know. I needed my mental break. And he's like, well, think about what we could do for people that really need the help. And so I said, okay, all right, I'm back in. If you need me to help you with that, I will do that. I said, but let me do what I'm trying to do, man. I think I want to do something that I've never done before. I want to challenge myself to do something different. So he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do home building. He's like, do you know anything about home building? I said, no, but I'm going to think about it. And so I started HTS Construction, and then from there, I said, well, you know what? I should film this, you know, a renovation going from old to new, or, you know,
before and after.
Yeah. And so I went to the networks, television, there was 3 networks, major networks, and I said, hey, listen, I have this idea. I said, they do it in the States. Would you guys buy this? And she says, well, I don't know. She says, because it's a little bit different over here. I said, people would love to see that. She says, yeah. She said, but I don't know. Give me something different. And I said, okay, let me think of something different. So then I went into the media part of it and said, okay, what can I do in media? And so we would have conversations, and I said, okay, you want content. What kind of content? She said, just develop content. Tell me what you're developing. Let's talk about it. So I just started developing content, and sure enough, you know, the content, it worked.
Wow.
And then Navigate Ghana.
Right.
Yeah, so Navigate Ghana, what happened with Navigate Ghana, it was a byproduct of the media company, because what I noticed is that all of the diasporans that were coming in, they had no idea where to go. Right. Right? Ghana's beautiful. Ghana's a big place. So you want to know, if you don't want the local food, so where are the nice restaurants? What are the name of the nice restaurants? Yes. Where are the nice clubs? If you want to go to a club, what about churches? Where do I go to church if I'm Catholic, if I'm Baptist, if I'm Pentecostal, Apostolic? Where do I go? And so all this was running through my head, and I said, hey, wait a minute. Why do I just develop an app so that when you land and when you touch down in Ghana, you just go to the app and say, whatever I'm looking for as far as a business or activities, it's there. And that's how it came on.
So Navigate Ghana.
Navigate Ghana.
You just click on the app. You can find anywhere you want to go in Ghana.
Yes.
Now that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have a page behind you.
Yes.
From Ghana.
I'm a big time boxing fan. Can you believe that? Listen to
I
this.
can't.
I get excited. Listen to this. This is all thread. All thread. So what they do is they put in the design with nails. And then they come back and put in all the different thread and colors that they want to come up with a photo. Now these are very expensive, but guess what?
Right.
It takes time.
It does.
But isn't this one of the most beautiful pieces you've ever seen?
Yes, and it's matted.
Yes, and it's matted. So yeah, I love that. And the funny thing is they can do anything, anybody. You know, your mother, your father, or someone else, politician, brother, sister, they can do it. Unbelievable.
Truly in memory of somebody. If you have somebody that has passed away and you want to memorialize them and memorize them, this is it.
One of a kind piece.
Jesus, that's beautiful.
Yes. So if anybody ever want one, they can reach out to me. They're one of a kind pieces.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So Ghana, you've been there. You've been working there in Ghana. You have your content, your media company there. And you're doing, it started out building. Your concept was building.
You just never know the Lord is going to take your sin. You know, you just,
Absolutely.
You know, the funny thing, Cam, is this. I was raised in the church. From the time I was born, I was in the church, Pentecostal. We couldn't do anything. You know? And I would always complain about, why do we have to go to church 4 or 5 nights a week? And my grandmother would say to me, you know what? You're gonna be thankful that you did this, that I did this. I say, oh, come on, this is just too much. And do you know that if I had to do it all over again, I would do 5 or 6 nights, because that's my foundation, that's my base. So everything that's happened to me, there have been times when I've been interrupted, my business has been interrupted for whatever reason. There have been times when I've had money, lost money, had money, lost money. But guess what? I never gave up on God. And God never gave up on me. And so because of that, when I'm talking to people, I'm always saying to them, listen, you can do anything you want to do. But I tell you one thing, you need to have God walking along with you. Because if you don't have God, and that, people that believe there are atheists out here, that's fine, be an atheist. But what I'm saying, for my success, it's been through me having a relationship with Christ and knowing that He is the reason for everything and every accomplishment that I've made.
I'm so glad you said that you have a foundation. We don't want to leave that out. Willie Marsaw Foundation. Let's talk about how it started and the motto of it, what the mission is.
So that came from when I got into behavioral health. And so I had an uncle that had mental health issues, schizophrenia, paranoia, and he was probably one of my favorite uncles. You know, he taught me how to play tennis. He spent a lot of time with me, and the only thing I could think of, you know, when he passed away, I was grown, but what could I do to in remembrance of him? And so I said, you know what? Let me just come up with the Willie L. Marsaw Foundation for Mental Health Care. And in doing so, all of the monies that I would raise, I would make sure that individuals, whether they be adult or children, have access to mental health care through that foundation. And so a lot of times you have individuals that may not have insurance or may not have money. So that would relieve them of some of the problem so that they could still get the services that they needed. And that was so important. And that's why every year, and I know I've seen you there before, and I really appreciate you. Every year in December, normally the second week in December on Saturday, I have a big event, black tie event, for the people to come out, enjoy themselves, and donate to the foundation so that we can continue helping children that need to be helped.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, because so many times we see that mental health has been on in our race, and we just don't talk about it. We thank you for doing that, for everything you've done. Please speak to the listeners and let them know, what would you like to leave with them?
Well, I think that the most important thing is that in mental health, if a lot of times people don't want to admit that there's an issue. Right. They will tell you about someone else's issue before they look in the mirror and look at their issues, right? And so no one wants to believe that they have a mental health condition. But when you start doing things that are odd and that are just different from the average person, you have to say, okay, why am I doing this? Why is this odd to other people? Let me just go talk to someone, because if someone is saying that I think that you're acting differently or you're acting weird, okay, let me just go talk to someone, because you never know what it is. And it's not all times it's a mental health diagnosis where you're saying I'm schizophrenia or anything. It's just maybe that you got a lot on your mind and you just need to go talk to someone. You know, growing up in the church, as black people, we were taught to go talk to God. Get on your knees and talk to God. But guess what? There are individuals that God has sent here that can provide services to you, and so He sent them to you, and you taking it. So it's like God is sending you what you need. I'll send it to you. You can still do what you're supposed to do, get on your knees and pray to me, but I'm also sending you some of my faithful servants to help you with your needs as well.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. How can people get in contact with you? And tell us about your app.
Yes. So you have on-site counseling. We're at 3007 Caroline Street, Houston, Texas, 77004. Phone number 713-942-8100. On-site-counseling.com, I think is the website. And so if you need any type of services or care, reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to assist you. And if you're ever in Ghana, when you get off that plane, head up, navigate Ghana, go straight to it so you'll know what to do, where to go. And I think that you'll appreciate it, because Ghana is a fantastic place. And let me say this about Africa. And I want to say this because I remember sitting in my living room and I heard Donald Trump say something about, that wasn't nice about those type of places. And let me tell you, if you're black and you've never been to Africa, now I don't know about all parts of Africa. I've been living in West Africa. Ghana. There's no experience I've ever experienced like this in my life. And when you're talking about a safe haven for Black people, a place where you can release mentally, spiritually, it's nothing like it. And don't believe this stuff about Africa as an S-hole or whatever. Don't you believe that. This place is unbelievable. Just like you have fine dining here, fine dining there. If you wear fine clothes here, you go wear fine clothes there. If you want to drive a Ferrari or a Mercedes and all of that, it's there. So don't believe in that it's just zebras and safari. That's a lie. Because someone said to me, Troy, so when you go there, when you go to safari, what are you talking about? This is a place that is just like Houston, New York. It's unbelievable. And so I invite everyone, if they can get a chance, because there's nothing like exposure. You know, exposure is key to living to me, because we learn, we educate ourselves through exposure. And so you can sit back. I saw a reel one time when the kid said, she was talking to his daughter. He says, you know what? You got to be thankful that you don't live in Africa where they living in trees. And he was dead serious. I was like, now this is something, because he had been exposed. So he thought in his mind, he was telling his daughter something really good that she needed to know based upon what he knew. So he had been educated to know that, wait a minute, this is not the way they live. They don't live in trees. But education and exposure. So he hadn't been exposed either.
That sounds good. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Cam.
Cowboy Troy Marsaw. Thank you so much for everything. This is Dr. Cam Hill with the Cam Hill Show. Bye.